Do you consider your relationship with your father to have been a good one? Do you consider your relationship with your mother to have been a good one? Do you feel that there was a pull with one more than the other?
Obviously, people are closer to their mother. Naturally. That's the order of things.
Right.
And I think my father had issues. God bless their soul. Both of them have passed away. But I think my father was a good person who did not know how to deal with his emotions and how to give love. And some people are like that. They don't know how to give love. They have it, but they don't know how to give it.
Because maybe they weren't taught to, or
perhaps
in their own home as a child, they maybe
So
didn't.
I've made peace with him a long
Right.
time ago, even though we'll get to the second point. At the age of 17, he said to me, now we're in Canada. That's what happens here. You leave home. So leave home. Your sisters are married. It's just going to be you and me. It was in the summer. So don't come back to the house. So I thank him for that now, because at 17, I was on my own, literally on my own in the world. Naive. Very naive. Very, very naive.
Naive, but yet someone who had hardship in their childhood, clearly with a lack of parental love or parental support. So maybe not so naive as you might assume. I think maybe you were already, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, attuned to the hardships of what could be.
But not aware of, maybe,
But
but
maybe
not aware of it.
not
But,
aware of it.
like,
Yeah.
I know what you mean in the sense like it can't get worse than what I had.
Right.
But
Right.
but somehow I believe there are guiding angels that, that watch over you. And when I think back to the situations I put myself in when I was on my own, I say, wow, somebody saved me,
Youssef, I find it really interesting, this concept of nature versus nurture. How much of you as a person, as an individual, is formed by the fact that you are the product of your mother and your father? How much is it genetic? How much is it ingrained in you? And how much of it is nurture, your environment, your peers, your schooling, the city you live in? How much of that creates you? And how much is just you?
Yeah.
Inherent, I am who I am. Whatever the situation is, I will react a certain way. I find
It's a
these
good
questions
question,
really
and
interesting.
it's a good question to explore.
Yeah.
I know the one thing I did for myself is when I found myself with a lot of hate.
At what point was that?
18, 19, a lot of hate, like pure hate. Actually, even from earlier, from teens, hate. I decided to not have hate in my life.
And the hate was geared to who or what?
Hate towards God. Literally. Why me?
Why am I in this situation?
Why me? There's a lot of people. Why don't you divide it up? Why is it all me? And towards family members, my father and his side of the family, mostly. And I decided that, thank God, I like wise at this young age to realize I don't want to live with hate, and I'm going to make peace with it. And to do that, I'm not going to remember. We chatted about this earlier.
Yes, we did talk about this.
So I decided not to carry baggage, not to remember. So I don't really remember. I don't sit and sulk.
So it's selective amnesia.
Yeah, I don't want to sulk. I don't want to be like a sore loser. This is my box of chocolates, as they say.
Yeah.
And I'm going to deal with it and just do the best at it. And I'm going to dictate my life. I'm going to create my life. I'm going to say what I'm good at. I'm going to achieve what I want to do. And immediately I wanted to sail around the world. Let's say.
But let's go back a step, because I know that this is when you joined the Sea
Cadets. But I'm just saying, saying in general, I want to be a rock star. I realize that I have choices to make about my life, and no one else is part of that decision. I'm just saying in that context.
But were you always a disciplined person? Because when you make these sorts of declarations to yourself, you have to then, to your own self, follow up with it.
Yeah.
Were you someone who was always very driven because you felt that you're on your own 2 feet?
No, I was never driven. I was very naive. I grew up in a way that the way I was raised is very naive. Where I should have been driven about things, I was too focused about missing my mother.
I see.
And my situation for me to have the luxury of thinking of other things. So no, I'm not, I drive myself now, but I wasn't driven as a young kid.
How old were you when your mother passed away?
Oh, she died a year after we launched Fatafeat.
Oh,
with
really?
the slogan Al-Haya Hilwa, which she taught us all her life. So she saw it. That was like, in 2 days, it'll be like 10 years. 12 years.
And how did she become a more strong presence in your life as you got older, as you moved back to the region here?
Oh, she's always been a strong presence.
But I mean, were you more, were you seeing her more regularly?
One of the reasons I moved back, not the trigger, but one of the reasons I moved back was I want, as a 25-year-old, 26-year-old, I said, I want to live with my mother. I want to know what family life is like. Literally, I said that. And I came back.
And you lived with her?
And I lived with her for a few years until I got married. 3 years, maybe 4 years.
What was that like? Did it
Heaven.
meet your expectations?
Heaven.
Really?
My mother.
Yeah.
A mother can't do wrong.
That's really interesting.
You know that, right?
Yeah, of course. It's very interesting. Tell me about what happened at the age of 17. Why did you leave home not out of choice?
Yeah. It happened that we were in a building, all immigrants. But immigrants from where? From Scotland, Lithuania, Ukraine, etc. White. In the building next door, I used to see a kid every week put on a Navy uniform. He was my age, 13 or 14, and go away and come back. So I asked him, what are you doing? And he said, there's something called Sea Cadets. It's like Boy Scouts, but if you join, in the summer, they take you away by plane to a camp on the West Coast and you actually work on ships. So I joined. And every summer and I paid you money. So every summer for 3 years, I would go and I got up the ranks. And at the age of 17, I couldn't go back. 17, you join the Navy or you go home. Khalas.
Yeah.
And I was a senior. I became like a senior.
And you enjoyed this?
Oh,
you loved it?
It saved my life.
What did you like about it? The freedom of the sea? Was that an attraction?
The freedom of being my own self and doing my own thing that I've chosen.
Yeah.
The fact that there was travel where, you went away, you learned crafts, you learned things, sailing, the uniform.
You're learning a skill.
Yeah. I love the uniform, the discipline.
Yeah.
I loved it. It gave me purpose. So at the age of 17, while I was at camp, my last summer camp, my father came out, and we had a 2-day weekend off. So this was on Vancouver Island. So we drove down to Vancouver, and he was in a hotel, and he said to me, I want to see you. I don't know how we communicated in those days. We didn't have mobiles, but somehow he said, I want to see you.
So you were at the camp and you came to see him?
We had a day off and we would go to Vancouver or Victoria, one of the two. And I called up from the lobby, and this is a 5-star hotel. He said, come up to the room. I went up to the room, and he sat me down, and he said, immediately, he said, well, your sisters are getting married. The two that were left in the house that didn't get married are getting married. I didn't know at the time. They're getting married this summer. And therefore, we're in Canada. And at your age in Canada, boys go on their own.
Wow.
So don't come back.
Wow. Literally, he said, don't come back.
Yeah. Maybe not those words. Maybe
but
maybe
that was
there's no room. It's just going to be me and you, so you're on your own.
And had anything led to that moment? Had there been issues between you?
No. I was away for a month before that.
But
I hadn't seen him.
Okay, but
there had always been issues between all of us.
Yes, yes. And did he remarry? Was there a reason for him wanting to be alone at home?
I don't know. I didn't ask him, but he didn't marry.
He did not marry. Okay, no. Okay. Well, maybe he was doing what he thought was best in terms of the new society you were in. Maybe that was his way of understanding his surroundings. I'm not justifying it. I'm just trying to put myself in his shoes. Why would he do that?
I don't know his reasons, but I think it's the most wonderful thing that he did to me.
It set you on your course.
Yeah, it freed me. Yeah. It freed me to decide. Immediately, I was in shock. And the next thought after being in shock was, oh, now I can do whatever I want.
Really? Because up until that point, you would always want his approval or advice.
No, because up to that point, I didn't think of the future.
So let's unpack Fatafeat's origins a little bit.
Where did
the idea? Why food?
Well, I spent 9-10 years doing food commercials.
Yes.
So I loved working with food.
Right.
And when you do food commercials, you're looking into a slice of pizza for 2 days, and you're seeing how to raise it. You build a mechanism to raise it with the cheese. You do all these things where you're focused on food.
Styling of food.
Yeah. And then you realize that food is harmless. When you work with food in media, it's a nice thing. It's not like anything else. It's not like...
It's not going to talk back to you.
No, I meant it's not like I'm going to do a series about divorce or about some death.
Oh, I see.
That could impact people negatively. Food is just, it's nice.
Yeah.
So
It's comfort.
it's comfort, it's
Yeah.
beautiful,
Yeah.
it's what we do 3 times a day for all our lives and never get bored, or people like me more than 3 times a day. So, and I had seen how all the networks in the Middle East put food as filler in the middle of the day. And I had seen Food Network in the US. I didn't invent the wheel. So I decided that we need an Arabic food network. What if we do an Arabic food network? And that's how the idea came about.
And when you started, you were producing original content. I know that at some stage you were importing European and American shows as well, but you were also producing original content.
This is how it started.
Yes.
We came up with a name and a logo and a slogan and a mascot, the ant, small ant, Antar. Smallest thing is small Antar. And then, exactly. And then that's
the reaction you want.
Yes.
And you began the channel with investors, where you found investors to start the channel?
Allah
was it
yarhamu Nasser al-Kharafi, because of years working with him, said to me, what would you like to do? Let's do it.
Okay.
He believed in me. I was lucky, blessed.
They're a great company, I have to say. I know a lot of
good
people who work
family.
there. They're a wonderful company, yeah.
So I called on Food Network to answer your question, flew to New York, signed a deal with them, an output deal to get 400 hours per year from them.
This was at the beginning of
exclusive,
Fatafeat.
before we launched.
Right.
So we launched with all Western content from Food Network, subtitled, unedited. I did not remove alcohol. Whenever wine was added, I just wrote use grape vinegar. I thought the audience is smart.
Or nothing at all.
No one ever complained.
Yeah.
I was scared. People would complain. No one ever complained. People are smart. And then we started to produce our own content by identifying chefs, that I felt I could sort of make work.
Yeah.
And then over time, the balance became more Arabic than Western.
And then you would presumably have to find distributors for the channel. Was it part of the NBC umbrella?
No. At the time, it was just you go on a satellite.
Yeah.
And people,
you find it.
And people tune it for free.
Right. Okay.
Free to air days.
Yeah.
But I did something nice. I was shooting in HD from day one.
This is what I wanted to ask you. You mentioned this in one of your interviews.
I was filming in HD, knowing that we can't broadcast in HD, but knowing that food needs to look HD. So we would have, at least the library would be HD for the day when we had enough money to convert to HD.
That's an extremely, it's a lot, you came to that question with a lot of foresight, knowing that eventually that would be required. Was that an additional investment for you that you had to?
No, we were lucky. The time that we were launching Fatafeat, this camera came out called the Canon 5D that became standard.
Right.
That allowed you for small money to shoot high definition with cinematic lenses.
So it wasn't a huge shift in how you were working.
Cheaper.
I see.
It was actually cheaper than normal television cameras.
And I know the slogan of the channel is El Haya Halwa, from saying that your mother used to tell you. It's a very nice thing to have incorporated this in your true baby. I mean, Fatafeat is very much your idea, your initiative. I think tell me a little bit about why that came to you as a good slogan for Fatafeat.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me, actually, because I tend to forget. At the time, you're talking 2005, 2006, all you saw on the news was every day, 70 people died in an explosion in Baghdad or somewhere else, Intifada, etc. And as a father of young children at the time, I felt, looking at the scope of networks or, media exposure, it was still television. At the time, it was TV, sitting on the couch with the family. There was no other way.
It was communal.
So I thought, I want to create an oasis of normalcy. All I wanted was something normal. In my eyes, what could be normal, which doesn't have screaming, doesn't have people spitting food out of their mouth, which I don't know why it's become like what Arabs do in media. I didn't want divorce. I didn't want religion. I didn't want politics. I didn't want any of those. I just wanted food. And so therefore, Al Haya Halwa was an invitation to enjoy life. Was
it also your way of showcasing a positive image of the Middle East outward?
No, I have no interest.
You didn't think of that?
No, it's not my business. We have enough issues internally. And we sang it. We sang it every 10 minutes, the jingle. And it's my pride that a lot of kids grew up hearing it. I get a lot of messages from either kids who have grown up with it telling me, because of you, we entered the kitchen and we became, or parents, mothers who wrote to us saying, you saved my marriage by showing me how to be creative in the kitchen. Because we didn't show any recipes, by the way, not one. We just, it's like, and a lot of guys would watch it at night. They would, confess to me, when we want to relax at night, we put it on. So I just wanted to project normalcy. That's all. That's all. Just something normal. What I feel normal.
Yeah. I want to end with one question. So you told me the other day when we chatted that you're in therapy now. That it was a
Yes.
new thing that you had begun
Yeah.
exploring. What made you start going down that path? I think when we spoke, you had only been doing it for a month.
Yeah.
How is it going? What was your motivation for going to seek help
Yeah.
for whatever you went to seek help for? Has it helped?
Yes. The last question, yes, it has helped. The reason I went to see a psychologist, my daughter recommended it, Noor, because I was complaining, and I still am complaining, that I have trouble falling asleep. But the psychologist has also helped me tremendously as I write my memoir.
In what way?
Because I don't spend time thinking about, like I told you about memory, I don't spend time thinking of my childhood. So as I write my memoir, and you mentioned formative years, and that happens to be what I call the first chapter, my formative years. So as I explore, and when you write, you want to dig deep and talk about details, right?
Mm-hmm.
So having the psychologist sessions and talking to her has sort of removed the dust from the history and helped
You've had
me.
to think through it again.
Yeah, and what's it been like? Every time I have a session, I feel unhinged afterwards for a day or two.
But you also feel a bit of relief, maybe, that you've unloaded something.
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
Really, it's to be honest, I don't know yet. All I feel is unhinged, and sometimes I feel, am I doing the right thing by opening up like that? I was okay, I was more okay, more put together before I started this, but you brought it onto yourself by opening up. But it's helping me in my writing, so I'm not regretting. Does that answer somehow?
Yeah, it
your
answers
question?
it very well. So you're happy you did it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And do your family notice a difference?
No,
Not yet.
not yet.
It's too
No,
soon, maybe.
no. I think they noticed me being more assertive about myself.
Interesting.
About myself.
Being selfish with yourself.
Not even selfish.
No.
Here's the thing. I have, some people I know on Instagram or social media, they say sometimes, I love myself. Okay? I have trouble with that.
Yeah.
On many levels, I have trouble with that. I have trouble saying it about myself. I have trouble with anyone saying it. So I was exploring that with my psychologist, and then I realized that I don't give myself enough rights or space. So, for example, one of the benefits of psychology, I'm going to do something, and my daughter will call me and say, I'm going to the mall. Do you want to meet up for coffee? Normally, the normal Youssef would drop everything and say yes.
The new Youssef.
The new Youssef will say, sorry, I'm going to the gym because I've already planned it that way.
Yeah.
So it's kind of liking myself and being comfortable with myself more than loving myself.
But it's
respecting myself.
It's interesting because I'm sure that in work there is assertive Youssef.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, very, very much.
But not on the home front or in the personal space.
On the contrary, on the opposite contrary. Like at work, it's like we're on a mission, we need to get it done. At home, it's more making sure everybody's comfortable, everybody's happy. Yeah.
It's super interesting. The way we compartmentalize things in our mind.
Yeah.
And how we are a certain way in a certain space and we're different elsewhere. It's fascinating.
I was meeting one of the chefs that a few of them have become major celebrities.
Yeah.
Like Orfeli, who does Aleppo cuisine, is just voted last month as the number 6 restaurant in the Middle East. He's only been open 9 months.
This is here in Dubai.
Yes, I should take you there
next time. I'd love to.
When are you coming next?
Well, I'll see.
La, la, this is an
Oh,
experience you must
really? We need to pre-book 6 months
forget
ahead.
everything. La, la, la. But I mean, it literally,
It's
it's
very
an
special.
experience. It's an
Yeah.
experience.
Why? What is it? What does he do that's
Because these are guys that spent years studying the palate and studying what things go together, and they'll go get some rare spice from Uganda with a Japanese
like
msharifin.
ilbuli, similar?
The bullies for them is their god, and they've been to these restaurants to work in the kitchen,
Yeah.
and the end result is
Yeah.
this. So the reason I mention is because 2 days ago, about how we deal with different situations differently, I was with another chef from Lebanon that I've wanted to meet for a long time, and we were all there. And Orfali Muhammad was talking about Fatafeat days, and he said, he was pointing at me and he said, I learned from this guy that there's no room for failure. That we have to do our more than our best, and we just don't think of failure. Just because at Fatafeat, when we worked, we didn't look at the competition, we didn't look at our ratings. We just like dug in, pretended nobody else was there,